Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Eat, Pray, Faith podcast with Dr. Tracy. That's me. And today we have an incredible topic that I think has been a lost art and is super valuable, empowering moms. And I couldn't think of anyone better to talk on this topic than my friend Holli Nesbitt, who she is a certified health coach, but honestly, she's just a natural health guru and she's a huge advocate and has a tremendous heart just to empower the moms. And our topic is actually called Empowering Moms with Simple Tips for Avoiding Junk Food, Chemicals, and Living Naturally. Sounds like a huge topic, Holli, but I think we can simplify it today. So I want to say thank you for being here. I'm excited because I truly think that we should be asking other moms, our grandmas, our own moms, right, how they did things. And I think we've gotten too caught up in the medical model of calling the pediatrician way too fast. So I know you have a course, you have a big online presence, and I watch you help other moms. I'm so glad you're here. But I'd love to know how you got here. Like, give me your background and your story.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy, for having me on. I feel really honored that you would have me on as a guest. And I hope that this podcast episode blesses a lot of moms. I really started out my wellness journey with really being interested in health and wellness, started back in 2014, 2015. Up until that point, I really wasn't a health guru. I really didn't care about what I put on my body, put in my body. I just didn't think about it. Like if I was hungry, I ate, I didn't think about really beyond that. And it wasn't until my husband and I, we had moved into a home and I started getting some health issues and stomach pain and just not feeling well. And it was very bizarre and strange. And basically, it took me quite some time to piece it all together. I had gone to the gastro doctor, gone to the primary doctor, gone to, all the different specialists. And, I got told, well, you have acid reflux, take this med, or, all these different, you know, pill for the ills, and I just still wasn't feeling well. And I was having a lot of stomach pain. And in my mind, I thought, well, I'm just going to eat a whole bunch of whole wheat because that's healthier. And so here, come to find out, I actually had celiac disease. So, which is an autoimmune of when you eat gluten, you're just completely wrecking your digestive tract. And I was killing myself slowly. And I didn't know that. And so that was basically what ended up happening is it got really bad even before I found out about that. And I was handed a card and she said, the gastro doctor said, sometimes we think our stomach hurts, but it really doesn't. And I think you need to go see someone. And I was like, no, I'm not making this up. This is not in my head. Like my stomach is killing me. And so that was kind of like that was my moment when I was like, wait, what? Like that really hit home for me. I'll never forget that. So,
Wow.
basically,
So
yeah, it was crazy.
missed you and called you crazy.
Yes, yes, yes. And I was like, and actually, that same doctor said I had had an endoscopy. She said, oh, and which I paid good money for. And she goes, oh, you have inflammation, but everybody has that. No big deal. Moved on. So, it was just interesting, like knowing what I know now. And so, basically, what the big thing that I pieced together, because even after going gluten free, I was still having health issues. And the home we had moved into had mold, and mold was really wrecking with my immune system. It really started to, it triggered Epstein-Barr virus. Then I started getting autoimmune issues, really, really sick. And I found all of that out because at the time I said, I can't do this with doctors. They didn't know what to do with me. And so I went to the internet and I found a lady that was a nutritionist and also practiced functional medicine. And she started diving into like all of these root cause things, found out the house had mold. And so, I was like, oh, I didn't know about mold illness. Like that was a whole thing. So at my sickest, I was 89 pounds and really, really sick. And so fast forward, like I started learning, we started addressing a lot of these things, but we were still missing pieces to the puzzle. And I started learning about, oh, like healthier chemicals in products and chemicals in our environment and eating healthier. And like, I remember the day I found out that shampoo was like toxic. Like, I feel like now in 2024, people are like, oh, the non-toxic version. But like back then, I was like, what? Shampoo is like toxic? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, I can honestly tell you, I've been in this industry 25 years and people are a lot, what I would say, a smarter consumer because it's been allowed
Yes.
out there. However, they pick and choose where their brilliance lies, right? So even, and this is no offense on effort. I am proud of every single person that takes a step. Congratulations, because those are the hardest steps you ever take. Number one, it comes with first the initial cognitive dissonance of no, they're not trying to do that. No, that can't be true. Then you find out it's true. And then you go through the mom
Mhm.
and the mom shame
Yep.
of I can't believe I did this or I didn't know. And then you get into
Mhm.
communities. This is what I love about your community, because I'm not picking on health communities, but some of them can be a little judgy on people that
Mhm.
aren't right. So they come in these communities, they're like, hi, I'm new. And I know shampoo's bad for you now. And everyone's like, yeah, that's like so 2015. Like, where have you been? So it's like, calm down. We all start, you know what I mean? So we all have
Mhm.
that aha moment at some point. And I think it's really helpful because I love sticks and twigs medicine. I think you know that. And you and I have shared your health journey in segments of it. And I think you know that I use everything from really strategic testing to castor oil packs, and it is really individual. But what I like about your approach is you just took it back to the simplicity. You were like, hey, everyone's talking about functional blood work and these tests and hormones. And you're like, but no one's really talking to moms. No one's really like talking to people that need this mom help. So tell me a little bit about how you got into, let me talk to the moms because it's really important. I mean, you have a tremendous health journey. I think we all start there. That's how I got into practice, right? I had
Yeah.
my own. But I think for the moms listening today, maybe they're healthy, but their kids are sick. But I think let's just
Mhm.
start with how did you get into this? And then let's start with the topic of some simple things that we can do in the households, that can make a
Yeah.
tremendous difference in our kids' health that we're not doing, but are so cheap to do and so easy to do, but we're just not doing it, right? So how'd you get here?
Mhm.
How did you become the mompreneur of health?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, basically, so it kind of started with food. I was realizing that certain foods, because celiac, that's an autoimmune disease of the digestive tract. So you have to think about what you're eating all the time and avoid gluten. So I was kind of like forced to focus on food first. And so I started focusing on that. And then I started realizing, oh, like, there's, pesticides in foods and there's inflammatory foods and there's foods that, just wreck your digestive system. So once I started realizing that, I started realizing that with the kids. And I started making simple swaps, but I'll never forget. I also discovered, I sound so like old because it's like 2024. So I feel like people know this, but this was like back then. And I was like, oh, there's this really cool app called Pinterest. And so I started using Pinterest and I looked up Whole30 and Paleo because back then I was like, woo, and I was like, wow, like there's like these healthier recipes. So I would like save them and I was like, okay, well, this week I'm just gonna make these and we'll see what my family likes. And like they would like two out of the five. And I'd be like, all right, well, I'll keep those, trash those. And then I just kept doing that and building on it until finally we had all of these like healthier recipes that like my family would eat. So that's kind of how the food part evolved. And then I started getting into, okay, well,
Hey, I'm gonna jump in here
what's
because I always call it food prisons. We create
yeah.
our own food prisons with our kids, don't we? It's like, oh, here's your cheese stick, here's a cracker, here's a pack of crackers, because we've created a culture where moms are too busy to put their kids first. And again, I'm talking from my own experience. This is not like y'all are doing it wrong and I got it so right. I am a career-based woman. I have two kids. I had John when he was little. I focused on him heavy because he had an issue, right? He had this eczema thing. And so I did. I really like focused on his diet, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had that second child and I was like, oh, you're alive. Good luck to you. And I think, that's kind of what happens. And then you get put into back to work, you're a mom, but you're a working mom. And then everything kind of gets cut short in the household. And for me personally, everything went towards my career. And I started to create food prisons for myself that when
Mm,
the kids got older, then I was like, why don't you eat anything besides these 5 foods? Yeah, I did that to my kids.
yeah.
That's me. So I
Yeah.
love, and you think that was so simple, like doing the Pinterest recipe. I love that idea. I love that you put in a couple of things. You tried lots of things, but you were okay with them saying, I don't like this and I love that. That's a great tip for moms. So let's not brush over that, because just presenting your kids with food, and letting them have choice over what they like, and then you saving those recipes, that is a great tip right off the start. So don't just swipe over that, because I think this is what moms need. There's people taking notes right now, Holly, because nobody talks about this.
Well, I also say, I really want moms, I say this all the time to people, if you're trying, you're winning. Say that to yourself over and over, because you're going to have times where your kids are like, I don't like that. I don't like, or you're going to be like, oh, this is hard, right? Like, just keep trying, just keep going and don't give up. And every little habit, every little swap, every little change you make, it really does matter and it adds up. And like, don't worry about being perfect. Who cares? Like, maybe your kid is like, they're eating apple slices with their Doritos, but they used to be eating Oreos with their Doritos. Like, that's huge. Like, that's a big deal. It's hard to get kids sometimes. It took me years to get my kids off cereal, literally a very long time. So, the sugary cereal, because before all this, I was like, Captain Crunch, Cocoa Puffs, you want that? Because that's what I grew, I was just like, it doesn't matter. So, just keep trying. So that's really with the food. I feel like it really started with the food. And that really was powerful for me along my health journey too. It was like, wow, it really does make a big impact on your energy, your gut health, how you feel, all of that. And then we started noticing like the kids got sick less. And it just made me want to keep going and keep learning. And so yeah, and then it kind of fast forwarded into wanting to help other moms. I was like, wow, like I can't believe that, all of these things that I learned, like all these different chemicals or these simple little remedies from your kitchen or these easier clean ways of eating, like I can't believe all these things and it really can be simple. I want to teach other moms and share this. So I wanted to share it on social media. We got connected. Working with you to improve my health even more has been amazing, like absolutely amazing. And so I just kind of like spun into this and like now it's like my passion and I love showing up on social media and just sharing these little tips and swaps because it just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So just give highlight in just the food category. What are the top 3 things you would tell moms to look for and maybe replace and or eliminate over time? Start there, and then we're going to move into the household items. And we're just going to kind of go through different departments of the house, 3 improvements that you can make. And then all moms that are listening, if they want to start in the food category or in the natural cleaning products category or even the skincare category. I mean, the fight with teenagers on deodorant. Now, my kids are fine because they grew up and they have all the weird woo-woo deodorants or even the salt crystal. That's what they know, right? But their friends come over with like their, I don't know, I can't even think of any industry named ones, but you can smell them downstairs. I'm
I
like,
know.
what is that smell? They're putting it on upstairs. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, nothing. I'm like, what is that smell? They're like, no, it's deodorant. I was like, I can smell it across the street. Do you think that's healthy for you? Not to mention the aluminum, but let's go. Give me 3 tips in the
Yeah.
kitchen, 3 tips, and then let's move into some environmental stuff then.
Yeah. Okay. So for food, I really like to say just adding in versus replacing. Like, I think that mentally helps you as a mom and it also helps your kid because if your kid's like, oh my gosh, she'll take this from me, like just adding in. So, adding in more colorful fruits and vegetables. Literally, it's that simple. Like maybe you dabble in making smoothies. Maybe you dabble in, making fruit trays or whatever, like animals with your fruit, off again, Pinterest whatever it is, like add in fruits and vegetables. Another thing is looking at your labels and avoiding added sugars. That's huge. I was appalled when I realized how much sugar was being consumed like in our house. I can't even remember the statistic of how many teaspoons, tablespoons of sugar people eat in a day. I think I forget what it was.
Isn't it like 18?
Something like that.
Something
I wanted to say
ridiculous.
17, but yeah, something like that. And so um, I mean, it's just crazy. So I think people look at a label too and they think, oh, it's got 4 grams of sugar. That's not really that big of a deal, but that's like a teaspoon of sugar. So I'm like, you need to think about that. So if you're looking at a label and something has, think about that. How much sugar are you really giving, your kid or consuming? So sugars, just eating more fruits and vegetables. And another one that was big for us in our house because I had celiac was gluten. And I know people don't want to be put in food jail, but I just kind of found that we ate less processed cakey stuff and bread stuff and that kind of thing and made space for more whole foods. That was a big one for us. But if you're like, I don't really want to do that. This is so simple, like filter your water because everybody needs to be drinking water. Like most people don't drink enough water. And it sounds so simple, but it really is. It
Well,
makes
how
such
much
a big,
water do you think a kid drinks in a day, right? It's not like that. There are some kids that'll seek it out and they're water drinkers. And then there's other kids that they don't pay attention like that to their bodies. You don't pay attention to your body till A, you lose your health or you're aged, right? You get older. Then you're like, what are these cracks, creases, and crunchies that are
yeah,
right? Then I'm
yeah,
like, maybe I need to drink water. But I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We drank water out of a hose. Like
yeah,
that's the value that people put on it. But now you can find it in every flavor bottle from every mountain across the universe. So water is important. And I don't think it's enough emphasized on our kids. I mean, even in schools, my kid takes a water bottle or, a thing of water with him to school. So that's good. But those are easy tips. And I love that. And always say, crowd out the bad with the good, like add in
yeah,
more good things that'll crowd out your bad habits. So, and just putting it out so it's available. I mean, do the candy store trick or the checkout line trick, put it where kids can see it. They
yeah.
do eat it. If you put the grapes away in the refrigerator, and every
Mhm.
time your kid opens the refrigerator door and you yell at them, we're not refrigerating the whole neighborhood. Then they shut the door. They're not looking around, right? So we don't give them opportunity to seek in there. So put them out. Put the apples on the table, put the fruit on the table. Kids will actually eat it because it's quick and grab and go. And they'll do that out of two reasons. One's it's right there, it's fast. And two, they're lazy. I mean, I can't get my kids to throw things in the hamper that's 2 feet away from him. He'll just throw it on the floor. So I'm like, if I put the fruit right here in the refrigerator or the snack drawers all the way over there, you'll choose this. And it actually works. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you've been talking about chemicals and shampoos. Give me some insight on some household chemicals that you think are probably the most dangerous that we use very commonly. And then let's clean up our house with some easy tips.
Yeah. Gosh, a big one for me that I used to use all the time was a lot of Clorox products. I used to use a lot of Lysol all the time. I thought I had to kill all the germs, obliterate all the door handles, all of that kind of stuff. Honestly, when it comes to, I feel like eliminating chemicals in your home, you have like your cleaners that you're using, and then you have the chemicals that you're putting on your body, your personal care products that you're using. And honestly, cleaners personally, I literally pay like pennies to clean my house. I don't think we need to spend a lot of money on cleaners. You can make a simple multi-purpose cleaner with witch hazel, water, some essential oils. You can also get your shower really clean with some baking soda and then spray some vinegar and scrub it down. Like we don't need to be buying all of these, and wasting money really on chemical filled stuff like that. And then personal care products. The biggest place that I wanted to start when I went into that category was I was like, all right, well, what are we using every day? Because if you can just start with what you're chronically using every single day and then just build on it later. Like you don't have to do everything perfect. You don't have to throw everything out. You don't have to like freak out and like, just think, what am I using? Maybe you use up what you have and then you start making the swap. But like toothpaste, that was a big one because we're always, couple times a day, we're brushing our teeth. We switched to, I really like the brand Risewell, because then I found out about fluoride and I was like, oh, that's great. So that's really great for your pineal gland and all these things, you know? So I'm like, okay, fluoride free. So we did Risewell for that. And then I was like, all right, well, we wear our clothes all day long. And it's really bizarre that all these chemicals are in our clothes, rubbing on our skin. Our skin's our largest organ. Up until that point, I loved Gain. I'm not judging you if you use Gain laundry soap. I'm just saying, I was just like, wow, this has a lot of chemicals in it. So started using a brand. We like to use Truly Free. That's just something that and then you talk about boys and deodorant. We actually like a line, it's called Dr. Squatch. It's great for boys. So they have shampoo, soaps, deodorants, and they smell manly and boyish, and they don't have a ton of chemicals. For girls, deodorant, Primally Pure. I like to use that. My daughter likes to use that. So those were some things that we used every day. So thinking about that, like your deodorant, your toothpaste, your laundry soap, like I really started, and your shampoo and soap, like for the kids, my kids, when they were little, they would just like dump stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so I needed to get something with a pump in the shower. So we used get like a non-toxic, we used like a Everyone, it's called Everyone brand. But if you're wondering like, well, how do I know if it's toxic, blah, blah, blah. I used an app called EWG, Healthy Living, and you just download it to your phone, and then you can look it up when you're in the store and you can scan your products. And I've taught the kids now that they're growing up to be teens, because I have a teenage daughter who now wants to wear makeup since this spring. And I said, look, I said, this is something I'm not willing to compromise on. You need to make sure that what you're using is non-toxic. And I explained to her, like, she said, well, it's just a little bit, or it's just a little bit of lip gloss. And I said, yeah, but like, if it's just a little bit of lip gloss, just a little bit of highlighter, and then mascara, and you go through all these products, and it's not really just a little bit. So those are a couple swaps, and that app is super helpful.
Yeah, and
So,
just in case people don't know what EWG is, it's Environmental Working Group. They are a third-party tester. They're not funded by any corporations. You can submit products to them. It might take them a while to go research them, but they'll pretty much look at anything. And they have a very organized system to go in and look at different categories of products, from cleaners to sunscreens, which is a pet peeve of mine. But long story short, it's a good app to have, especially if you're kind of like a newbie in all of this. And here's what I'll say, this is very overwhelming.
mhm.
Start simple with things that you have control over. Pick your
Yep.
battles. I know that's a big kind of cliche saying with moms, but it's true. Like you said, if your kids are eating Oreos and Doritos, and now they're eating apples and Doritos, give yourself a little pat on the back. Good job, mom. Right. And all of
Yeah.
these things, what I always say is, everything you love right now, walk down the organic aisle and buy those things. Number
Mhm.
one, you'll first remove chemicals, because I'm a big proponent. I always say count chemicals, not calories, right? Because chemicals will get you faster. Second, when you walk down those organic aisles and you realize the amount of money that you pay for an organic bag of gummies, you will convince your child to eat fruit over those gummies, because they're like $47. So,
I know.
so
Yeah, they're expensive.
normally yeah, it's just a shock, right? You're like, holy man. And so it
Yeah.
does help you farm it out a little bit, rather than just giving your kids free access to that junk. So it conditions you, it conditions them. What I did when I first switched the cereals, because I mean, my kids didn't grow up on cereals, and then my parents ruined them. When I went back to work and I was traveling a lot, my kids stayed with my mom and dad a lot, because my husband was also working. And now he's retired, so things have changed, but they would give them cereal, and then they got hooked on the cereal. So I
Mhm.
found a brand called Mom's Best at the time, and it just kind of cut out all the BHT, which is an explosive, by the way, if you look on the side of your
Have some
preservatives.
explosive with your cereal. Good
Yes,
morning.
good morning, wake up, kaboom.
I
So
know.
and so what I would do is take the bag out of the Mom's Best and put it into the original bad cereal box. So say it was like Cinnamon Toast Crunch to the Mom's Best brand. And so my kids kind of like, it didn't taste so different, but they were like, something's different, but It wasn't enough that they were like, oh, you switched it. So they didn't know that for years until they got old enough that they caught on to me. But by then they didn't care. So those are little things that I feel like moms can white lie about that Jesus will
Uh,
forgive us for later. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I know. It's so funny. I know. Well, actually, a little tip if you're long time ago when my Ava, she's super picky, and I discovered that I was like, well, if I make you a berry smoothie, the berries are dark, you won't know, and I could hide spinach in there. And she's just drinking her smoothie. I remember one day she was drinking it and she's like, I don't like spinach. And she's drinking spinach. She didn't know, but I was just trying to get more nutrients in her. So whatever, it's fine.
yes, they get on to us eventually, but
Yeah.
by that time they like it and they don't care. But it's really they have to say something out of sheer principle, but that's okay. I'll let them talk. So, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some secret hidden remedies, which I like to call old wives' tales, right? That people thinks that are sticks and twigs medicine. And when I did my webinar, which came out of sheer principle of people texting me at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night saying, my son's sick, my daughter's sick, what do I do? I'd always ask them, what do they have? And a lot of people don't realize that having products on hand first is extremely beneficial. So I turned that webinar into a book, The Mommy Apothecary. And it was just a little hand tool for people, right? And so now you even have a course, which we're going to link in the show notes. And I would advise people, please sign up for it. If you're a mom, please just start to learn how to take care of your kids. And this is what I always tell moms. If you don't want to end up in the ER, you got to do all the things to not even try to get there, right? But one of the things that I realized was there's a lot of stuff in our kitchens that we can use and that have been used for centuries that we just forgot about. You know why? Because moms aren't talking to moms, and we're not talking to grandma about her mustard poultices she used to put on our belly aches and the oil she used to put in our ears. So we got to start talking to each other because we're losing this, Holly. We're losing this natural medicine that's been passed down through the generations that we know works, and we're trading it in for like things like Tylenol. I mean, so let's talk a little bit. What are some secret remedies hiding in our households, and give us some insight on what you use?
Yeah, I really really love this topic cuz I feel like when you start learning how to use what I call God's pharmacy, all these cool little things, you become empowered and you're like, wow, I don't have to be I know for me personally, like my oldest, he was it all started after his 18-month, checkup and he was screaming and screaming after that appointment. Well, he then ended up with asthma and all this stuff and he was on multiple inhalers till he was like in first grade. And I remember when he would get sick, I would just be like really fearful. And like, I didn't know what to do. And I wanted to help him, but I didn't know what to do outside of like, let me just, call a pediatrician right away, antibiotic steroids again. And my heart was just trying to help him. That's our heart. We just want to help our kids. So if we can know how to use some things and it's not that we'll never use an antibiotic or we'll never call the doctor. I'm not saying that, but like you really do become empowered when you know how to use some things to help yourself before it gets super, super bad. So my favorite thing, okay, so when my kids were little, they would get pink eye a lot. And I wish I would have known this, but I didn't know this back then. So all you need, okay, I shouldn't say all you need because I'm not saying replace your doctor's advice, but go to the grocery store and get yourself some black tea bags. That's it. Don't even get like all perfectionistic and like, does it have to be this brand or organic or perfectly whatever? No, just grab some tea bags and boil the tea bag just like you would, steep it in a hot mug, and then take it out and put it on the top of your hand and test it out because you don't want it to be too hot, just warm, but not too hot. Put a towel down wherever your kid's gonna lay down. You're going to want to boil 2 tea bags because if, put them on both their eyes, it's a nice warm compress and then let it sit there for a while. And then what I like to do is I like to squeeze them at the end and kind of let them run into their eye a little bit. And then I throw those tea bags away. And then you can do that like throughout the day. It's just a tea bag. It doesn't matter. It's amazing. It's amazing what it can do for a pink eye, even just doing it once or twice. And it costs you what, pennies? And you don't have to it's amazing. So I love using tea bags. Like that's huge. And I like drinking a lot of teas for different things too. But tea bags, pink eye, that's like my favorite thing.
Well, let's stay on the tea topic just for a second. People think that the only tea that's available is like Lipton, right? And kudos to
Yeah.
them. Done a nice job with marketing. But honestly, teas are therapeutic. They always have been. And not only can you drink them, but you can soak tea bags in your bathtub, especially things like lemon balm teas when you have a fever. You can utilize them on skin issues. You can use them within poultices. Like you can actually steep the tea bag, break it open, muddle the leaves along with other things like clays and oils, and you can use that as a poultice for different things. You can calm down skin rashes with chamomile tea. You can actually calm down colic with chamomile. You can take that, steep it, take that little tea
Boy,
bag.
wish I would have known that when Ivan
Great.
Jay was born. Anyway.
All of God's medicine is here. He told us he is a waymaker. Has
Yeah.
given us all things here. It is really about us to learn how to seek him, right? And what he said is very good, and getting back to that. And we've come so far away from it culturally as women, because now it's like,
Mhm.
I am woman, hear me roar. And being a mom and staying at home, raising children who are going to be our next generation leaders is just not glamorous enough anymore. And many parents are forced out of the home because of the way
Mhm.
our culture is set up. It does take two working parents most of the time. And I
Yeah.
do love the fact that there's home businesses. And I know you do a home business as well. You have a particular supplement that you utilize that I think is an incredible supplement that works across the board for many, many things. You also have this course, and I'm going to take a second because I want you to tell us about your course and why moms can sign up. But I think it's valuable that, I can only touch so many people. I can only teach
Mhm.
so many people. And the reason that I teach is so they can teach. If I try to keep everything close to the breast and I don't share and I don't empower other people, we're all going to stay sick.
Yeah.
All of our children are going to stay sick. We're now at a point where we're at 1 in 30 kids with spectrum disorders. 1 in 30. What does that look like 20 years from now? What is the $1 trillion industry for caring for those children? And what about the parents of those children when they pass on? I mean, how much pressure is on those parents and worry, right? What
Mhm.
does our geriatric time look like? A long, long time ago because we're so young, so what does that look like for us? Who's going to be caring for us? So we have to take this next generation. It's coming up, no matter where you are and your kids raising, if they're 5 months to 15, it is not too late to bestow some of these tactics into your family dynamics right now, because
Mhm.
every little thing that you do, they will carry forward. Bad or good, that's how it is, right? I always tell my first son, I'm sorry I grew up with you. Your brother's probably going to be better, but that's okay. So it just is the
Ah,
way it is.
funny.
But I love all this, and I really appreciate all the links. So tell us about your course a little bit. Like, what is this course? Who should sign up? Give us the deets.
Yeah. So it's called the Healthy Family Formula because I named it that because I really believe it's the quote unquote like formula, the most important things we should focus on to really create a healthy family as best we can, right? Nothing's going to be perfect. But if you're a mom who's like, I want to raise my family as naturally as possible, I want to try to avoid antibiotics, I want to try to avoid medications, and I want to know what I can do to prevent that from happening. What can I do in my power to help my child get better? Like the tea bag instance. I have a whole bunch of remedies in there. These are just things that I've learned along the way that are simple in your house that you can use. And then also, if you're like, I don't know where to begin when it comes to eating healthier, I have a whole section, a whole recipe book, you guides to go to the grocery store, different brands, different swaps. Like it's all done for you. So you're not like, where do I
Sign me up.
start? Yeah. Yeah. Like, where do I start? Same thing with personal care products. So have whole lists of all sorts of easy swaps. You literally just click it and it's there. And so, remedies, swaps, clean eating, and then it's basically a course where you can watch videos and learn. And then there's downloadables you can print off, take to the store, use as cheat sheets, and the whole premise and my heart of it was to take the overwhelm away, because all of this feels like a huge mountain. It did for me. Like, it was like, how am I ever going to make all of these healthy changes? And the truth of it is I didn't make these healthy changes overnight. Nobody does. It built over time, and you just got to give yourself grace. But I didn't want moms to feel like it was so hard to make changes that then they just give up or they just feel like it's impossible. So the course is really to give you the simple things, the heavy lifting's already done, and really empower you with things you can use for your family and to teach you. Because honestly, if we teach our, like you were saying, I really feel such a passion for this for my kids because they're getting older as teenagers. And I'm like, if we can teach them what to do when they get a sore throat, what to do when, they get the flu, like to help themselves. Like, if we can teach them these little basic things, because someday they're going to move out and they're going to be on their own. And I was even telling my husband, I was like, you know what I think I'm going to do when the kids move out? I think I'm going to like buy all these like wellness thing, like, a wellness cabinet for them and like have it all, because I want them to know what to do. And so if we can learn this as moms, we can practice it in our families. Our families are going to be healthier. They're going to learn, and then it just continues to grow and grow. So that's really what the course is, what you get and how it helps you. And yeah. So
So guys, make sure you sign up for that, and I one of the tips that I would give a mom here is, and this is what I do and what I've started doing, is I pray for my son's future spouse. I do. I pray that God puts a person in their life that, I want the easy. I want them to align perfectly with everything they believe in. And, they love Jesus and they love natural health and they won't jab their kids, but whomever God puts in my son's life is perfectly ordained. But I do pray. I do remember that verse in the Bible. It says prayer moves God. And I'm like, hello, Jesus. Yeah, it's me again, mom of John and Luke. Can we talk about the future spouse?
no.
So I do
That's
pray
so
that.
important. That's
It
so
is.
important. My dad used to do that for me. And like, I love my husband to death. Like, he literally is the perfect husband for me. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad would pray up for my future husband. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, I was just, young and like, okay, dad, sure. But like, he used to do that. And I really believe that's so important. I love that you do that for your boys, and it's going
Well,
to be.
I don't pray with them about it because I think it would go on too long, but I should. I
Yeah.
can just hear them now going, Mom, this is so embarrassing. Knock it off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to
Yeah.
date anyway, Holly, till they're like 47. So I have a long time to worry, So,
Yeah.
but it is, all we can do is give them roots and wings and hope that what we've planted. But I don't know about you, but my kids know. Like they don't go and run for Tylenol. When my son starts to get sick, they go and they grab the colloidal silver nasal spray, the colloidal silver. They're taking the supplements on the counter. And you're probably like me. I have like a whole apothecary on
Yes.
my
Yes.
plate. But the cool thing is my kids know what to take. At 10 and 14, they can walk over and they'll be looking at bottles and me, I jump out. I'm like, what are you taking? How much are you taking? They're like, oh, it's this, it's Immunomax, it's good. I'm taking two. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they'll come back and take more. And sometimes I gotta chase them. They're not perfect, but I look at that and I'm like, wow, they know, and my son got poison ivy, and then he gave it to me, which was a lot of fun. But I have a plantain salve. And I'll tell you, like, what works for me doesn't work for Luke. So I was putting colloidal silver gel with aloe on mine, and it was working like a charm. And I was taking my rust tox, and everything was good. But he had it just everywhere, and he was really itchy. So I went and got the plantain salve and put it on. He's like, "Man, that stuff's like magic. I mean, instantly takes the itch away."
Wow. That's
So now I
amazing.
see him out there digging in there with the little green salve, and he's like all green everywhere, but he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so he goes to camp next week, and I told him, I said, I'm gonna pack your plantain salve. Like my kids show up with like silver and plantain salve and homeopathics, and everyone's like,
And the
oh,
other kids are like, what? You're weird. Yeah.
or I'm the baseball mom, and I'm at the field. People run up to me and be like, hey, do you have any Tylenol? I'm like, I haven't bought Tylenol for 25 years. I don't even have it in my house.
Mhm.
So, but I'll break open my little Sport Pack and I got Arnica 30C. I got CBD cream. I got magnesium spray. I got magnesium capsules, right? I have frankincense essential oil in there. I have colloidal silver in there. I have Band-Aids. I have wraps. I have ace bandages. I even have my little red light laser in my car, just in case I got to do some red light. So that's just how my brain works. But that is 25 years later, right?
Mhm.
So as new moms listening to this, I promise you, you'll get as weird as Holly and I. You will. You'll be listening today thinking they're kookadooks, and then 5 years from now, you'll be like, they were so far ahead of their time. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the thing, right?
Well, and I would say too, because I think sometimes people think like, why does this matter so much to you? Like, why? Like, what is the big deal? It's just a little of this or a little of that. Like, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because once you realize what the chemicals in these things are doing, what the Tylenol is doing to the body, what the vaccines are doing to the body, how they're weakening, it's like built in us as moms to protect. That's what we do. And so once you know the dangers, you're like, I just want to protect my children. And it's ultimately they're in God's hands and they're a blessing and a gift to us. And we just have to pray and release. But once you know something, you're like, well, now I don't want to do that because I don't want to intentionally inflict something. And it just, so I think that's something to be said too, because I think sometimes people think, well, like, you're just like a health nut. This is annoying. Like, why does it matter? But like, we're really just trying to protect our kids and we're just trying to help them, prevent disease, live as healthy as quality of life and know how to care for their kids and our grandkids. So but yeah, don't get overwhelmed and just build on it. I still learn from you, Tracy, all the time. Like there's so much to learn, like with all of this, and I'm still learning all the time and just, oh wow, I didn't know that. I'll add it too, And so that's just what we got to do. Keep being forever learners and apply
I
what we learn.
still, I still learn from, my friend Kim, who's a naturopathic doctor. I mean, she has her own organic functioning farm with A2A cows, and they make all their salves and tallow. Like she's
That's amazing.
way ahead of me. So, but I rely on her because I can't do all the things either. I'm never going to make my own tallow. That's never going to happen.
Amen. Yeah.
Okay, it's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I will go muddle down some comfrey because it's in my garden and I know where it is and what it is. But I'm not going to make tallow. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me take this beef fat and boil it down for 6 hours. No, I'm going to call Kim and be like, hey, girl, send me some tallow. Right. And
Yeah.
she will, because that's her thing. That's why it takes a village. That's
Yeah.
why it's not just about, oh, here's my mommy apothecary book and no one else is allowed to talk about mom health. No, because tea bags, yes. I haven't thought about that in years. I used to put tea bags on, people that had like abscesses in their mouth. I would tell them to shove a moist tea bag back there. And I'll tell you, that draws it right out. Like, so
Wow.
we forget about these things, right? Because there's just only so much that I can remember. And here's what will happen to every mom. You'll know all this stuff. You'll know it inside out. And as soon as your kid gets sick, you become the dumbest person in the world. Yeah. And so that's where your network of moms is super valuable. I have a group that has my friends on it that I just text. I'm like, hi, I'm dumb. My kid's sick and I can't. I've been
Yeah.
up for 3 nights and I'm tired and my brain shut off. And my friend Michelle will be like, you need to do this. And my friend Kim will be like, you need to do this. Right. And so we have our little mom chat group. That's like my natural health friends that are moms. And when I'm dumb, they are smart. So that's how God works through people. Like when I'm weak, he throws someone into my life that's strong. And they are there as my support. And that's what I'm hoping that this podcast in particular brings together a network of moms, whether it's under your course or they read my book or a combination of both, that we can rebuild this lost art
Mhm.
of natural health in the homes and feeling confident, smart enough, good enough, equipped enough to keep it in our homes. Because what they've been telling moms for the last 100 years is that you're not qualified to make that decision about your kid's health. And that is a lie.
Yep.
That's culturally a lie. That's biblically a lie. That's not what God says about our covenant as a mom. That's not what he says, right? That's what the enemy tells us. And, ethically, it's wrong. So if anybody gains anything, simplicity, take baby steps, keep learning, keep trying, keep failing. You're going to fail. You are. You're going to fail. That's okay. I
And
felt.
failures are great because they're just what to do different next time. They're great. So it's
Mhm.
not really a failure. It's just a learning lesson.
Yep. And find your mommy tribe and love them
Mhm.
hard. Like that's the best thing you can do. And have a little group chat for when your kids get sick and you get done because it's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Well, Holly, thank you so much for being here. This has been absolutely amazing. I'm so happy you're doing this and I really appreciate you. Any parting words you want to leave with our listeners?
No, I would say just share this with a friend that, is if they're wanting to learn too and you found it helpful, share it with them. Like the more we can share with each other, then we're all helping each other and you can have a huge part in that. I would say that was a big part of my journey too. I would have never known about things had people not put podcasts out or wrote books or done things. That's how we all learn. And so just share it and be a blessing to someone else.
Yep. Amen. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody, and thanks for listening. Remember, everything that you need is in the show notes, her course, how to get in touch with her, how to follow her on Instagram. Please reach out. Please take the course. And if you need anything from me or my team, absolutely, we're here to help as well. And thanks again, Holly. God bless everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon.